Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. The lush green canopy of an uncharted planet shimmered under the afternoon sun as Jack, clad in his rugged field suit, surveyed the rocky terrain with practiced eyes. His mission was simple: collect geological samples to determine the planet's suitability for colonization. However, today's routine was disrupted by an unexpected sight: a small spacecraft spiraling down, smoke trailing behind it as it crashed into a nearby forest clearing. Jack grabbed his gear and sprinted towards the crash site. The ground shook slightly with the impact, and a cloud of dust and alien foliage obscured the view momentarily. As he approached, the twisted, still smoldering wreckage came into view. "Damn, that looks bad," Jack muttered, scanning for movement. He wasn't alone on this expedition. His team was a small, versatile group capable of handling various emergencies. Over his communicator, he called, "Eli, you catch that crash? I'm going to need backup here." Eli's voice crackled through the speaker, a mix of concern and adrenaline. "On my way, Jack. Keep your comm open." Jack approached the wreckage cautiously, his heart pounding as he moved around to the cockpit. Inside, he found a figure slumped against the controls. The alien was unmistakably not human, her skin a pale blue, with delicate, luminescent patterns tracing down her arms. "Hey, can you hear me?" Jack reached in, checking for signs of life. The alien stirred, her large, bright eyes blinking open in confusion. "Please, help," she whispered in shaky English, her accent thick and unfamiliar. Relief washed over Jack. "I've got you. Just hang on." He gently lifted her from the wreckage, assessing her injuries. She was conscious but visibly in pain, with a gash on her leg and bruises forming. As Eli arrived, panting from his run, he took in the scene with wide eyes. "Whoa, she's not from around here." "No kidding," Jack replied, managing a wry smile as he set the alien down on a makeshift stretcher. "Let's get her back to camp. She needs medical attention." Together, they carefully transported the alien through the dense underbrush, back towards their base camp. The alien's eyes flickered around, taking in the towering trees and the strange two-legged creatures that had come to her aid. "My name is Sarana," she said softly, trying to sit up to see her surroundings better. "Easy there," Eli warned, adjusting her to lie back down. "I'm Eli, and this is Jack. We're here to help." "What were you doing flying alone out here?" Jack asked, keeping his tone gentle. Sarana's gaze fell. "I was scouting. My people, we seek new homes. My craft failed." "Well, you crash-landed on a planet with possibly the only humans for light years who can help," Eli said, trying to lighten the mood. Jack nodded in agreement. "We'll do what we can for you, Sarana. First, let's get you patched up." As they reached the camp, Jack and Eli worked together to set up a comfortable area for Sarana. They cleaned her wounds and applied basic first aid with the supplies they had. Sarana watched them, her expression a mix of gratitude and apprehension. "You are kind," she murmured as Jack wrapped her leg. "Thank you." Jack met her gaze, his expression earnest. "You're welcome. We're all a long way from home, it seems. Let's look out for each other." Sarana nodded, a faint smile touching her lips. "Yes, let's." As the sun set, casting long shadows over the camp, Jack and Eli sat by Sarana, sharing their provisions and beginning a conversation that would bridge worlds. Though from vastly different corners of the universe, they found common ground under the stars of an alien planet. By the time the trio reached Jack's well-equipped camp, the alien twilight bathed the makeshift settlement in hues of purple and gold. Sarana seemed to regain some of her strength but still leaned heavily on Jack and Eli as they helped her into the main tent, which served as their medical bay. "Here, lie down here," Jack directed, guiding Sarana to a cot. He switched on the overhead light, casting a sterile glow over the array of medical supplies laid out in an organized fashion. Eli, pulling up a stool beside the cot, looked over to Jack. "You think she's got internal injuries?" "That was quite a crash." Jack shrugged, his brow furrowed with concern. "Hard to say without the right tools. I'm not a doc, but I know enough to make sure she doesn't have anything immediately life-threatening." Sarana watched them, her eyes wide as they spoke. "I do not wish to cause trouble," she murmured. "It's no trouble," Eli reassured her, offering a gentle smile. "We're here to help. Let's start by cleaning up those cuts." Jack pulled on a pair of gloves and cleaned the gash on her leg with antiseptic, his hand steady despite the unfamiliar context. "You're lucky, Sarana. It's a clean cut." Should heal well if we take care of it properly. Sarana nodded, her face pinched in discomfort as Jack applied a disinfectant. On my world, we heal differently. Much has been lost. We adapt. How do you mean? Jack asked, curiosity piqued as he placed a sterile dressing on the wound. We use more natural methods. Herbs and such. Not much of this. She gestured at the medical supplies scattered around her. That's interesting. We used to do a bit of that back on Earth, too. Eli chimed in. Maybe you can teach us a thing or two while you're here. I would like that, Sarana replied, a trace of enthusiasm in her voice as she relaxed slightly under their care. Eli prepared a syringe with a mild pain reliever. This will help with the pain. It's safe, standard protocol back on Earth. As he administered the injection, Jack kept talking to Sarana, keeping her engaged. So, Sarana, tell us more about where you come from. What's it like? It is much different from here. Larger cities, more vibrant. But many places are now quiet. We have been searching for a new home for a long time, she explained, her voice tinged with a hint of sadness. That must be tough, Jack sympathized. Being so far away from everything, you know. Sarana looked between Jack and Eli, her expression softening. Yes, but meeting kind beings like you makes the journey less daunting. We're glad to have you here, Sarana. Even under these circumstances, Eli said, disposing of the medical waste. Thank you, Eli Jack, she said, settling back against the cot. I feel safer already. Jack and Eli exchanged a look of mutual understanding and nodded. We want to set up shifts to keep an eye on you through the night, Jack decided. Just to make sure you don't have any complications from your injuries. I am grateful truly, Sarana said, her voice low. As night deepened, the atmosphere in the camp settled into a quiet routine. Eli took the first watch, pulling up a chair next to Sarana's cot, while Jack went to prepare some food for them. Sitting under the alien stars, Eli turned to Sarana with a thoughtful expression. You know, we came here looking for geological samples, but I think we might have found something much more interesting. Sarana smiled faintly. The universe has a way of surprising us, doesn't it? Eli laughed softly. It sure does, Sarana. It sure does. Their conversation drifted into the night, bridging galaxies and cultures under the starlit sky of an unfamiliar world, marking the beginning of a profound friendship. As the new day dawned on the alien planet, the camp was buzzing with the usual morning activities. Jack was already up, busying himself with the day's plans for exploration and mapping, while Eli prepared breakfast over a portable stove. The smell of coffee mixed with the alien flora created a strangely comforting aroma. Sarana, feeling much improved, joined him outside the tent, wrapped in a blanket against the morning chill. Good morning, she greeted, her voice stronger than the night before. Morning, Sarana. How are you feeling today? Jack asked, turning from his equipment to give her a warm smile. Much better, thank you. The pain is less, she responded, touching the bandage on her leg appreciatively. Glad to hear that, Eli said as he handed her a cup of steaming coffee. Care for a taste of Earth? Sarana accepted the cup, sniffing the beverage curiously. After a tentative sip, her face brightened. It's bitter, but good, she laughed, enjoying the warmth spreading through her. Jack chuckled and pulled up a chair for her. That's coffee for you. An acquired taste, but a morning ritual back home. As they sat enjoying their breakfast, Jack decided it was a good opportunity to learn more about their new friend. Sarana, you mentioned your people are looking for a new home. What happened? Sarana's eyes darkened with a memory. Our planet, Arona, was beautiful. Vast oceans, towering mountains, and fields of lumi flowers. But our sun began to die slowly at first. Then it became unstable, and solar flares started to destroy our lands. We had to leave. That's terrible, Eli said sympathetically. We've read about such things, but never met anyone who's lived through it. Sarana nodded. Many of us scattered across the stars in ships like the one I was in, searching for a habitable planet. It's been challenging. Jack leaned forward, intrigued. You must have incredible technology to travel like that. We do, Sarana agreed. But survival takes more than technology. It requires understanding new worlds like yours. I hope to learn from you while I am here. Well, you can count on us, Jack assured her. In fact, we're heading out to collect some geological samples today. You could come along, see some of the planet? I would like that very much, Sarana said, a spark of excitement in her eyes. After breakfast, the group prepared for a day's trek into the surrounding forest. Sarana, supported by a makeshift staff, walked alongside Jack, who pointed out various rock formations and explained their significance. Eli, ever the biologist, showed her some of the native plant life. See this? We call it a snapper vine. Watch your fingers, it reacts to touch. Sarana reached out, touching the plant gently, and jumped back as it snapped shut. Laughing, she marveled, incredible. Arona had nothing like this. As they ventured deeper into the forest, Jack used a portable scanner to analyze soil samples, explaining the process to Sarana. This tells us what minerals are present, and in what quantities. Helps us understand the planet's history. Sarana watched intently, then shared something of her own. Arona's scanners were similar, but adapted for our atmosphere and soil. Perhaps I can modify this to help find what we need. That would be amazing, Eli commented, impressed by her quick grasp of the technology. The day passed with shared stories and laughter, the beginnings of friendship weaving through their conversations. Sarana taught them some phrases in her language, delighting in their clumsy attempts at pronunciation. As they headed back to camp as the sun set, Jack felt a deep sense of camaraderie. You know, Sarana, you're not just a guest here. You're part of the team now. Sarana smiled, looking around at the alien landscape that was slowly becoming familiar. Thank you, Jack. I'm starting to feel at home. That night, as they sat around a campfire, the stars overhead seemed a little less foreign. Their circle of light, laughter, and new understanding shone brightly on the surface of an unknown world, making it a little more like home. The morning was brisk and full of promise as Jack, Eli, and Sarana prepared for a day of exploration beyond their usual perimeters. Jack, checking the map on his digital device, discussed the route with Eli, while Sarana gathered her own equipment, a set of specialized sensors she had adapted from her ship's technology. Today, we're headed to the eastern cliffs, Jack explained, zooming in on a section of the map displayed on a handheld screen. The scans from yesterday showed some interesting mineral deposits. Might be what you need for your tech, Sarana. Sarana nodded, looking over Jack's shoulder. Yes, I've noticed unusual energy readings in that direction. It could be very useful. Eli strapped a backpack over his shoulders, smiling. And I'm just excited to see what new plants and critters we can find along the way. Ready to lead the way, Sarana? With a light laugh, Sarana took the lead, her sensors in hand. The path took them through dense undergrowth where the sunlight barely touched the ground. Eli paused occasionally to collect samples of the flora, showing Sarana how to use the Earth-style datapads. See, we log the coordinates, take a photo, and grab a physical sample if it's safe to handle. Eli demonstrated, handling a leafy specimen with care. Sarana, intrigued, took the pad and mimicked his actions. Like this, she asked, her focus intense. Exactly like that. Eli approved with a nod. You're a natural at this. As they approached the cliffs, the terrain became rocky and the vegetation thinned. Jack pointed out the layers of sedimentary rock exposed on the cliff face. These layers tell a story about the planet's history, maybe millions of years in the making. We use tools to date them and analyze their composition. Sarana adjusted her sensor device and aimed it at the rocks. My sensors can analyze the mineral content in real time, she explained, her device beeping softly as data streamed across the screen. This cliff contains high levels of chrysotile. Jack whistled lowly. That's rare back on Earth. Could be a sign of geothermal activity long ago. They spent the afternoon taking samples, documenting their findings, and discussing the implications of their discoveries. Jack taught Sarana how to safely chip off rock samples, while Eli cataloged several new insect species. Hey, look at this one, Eli called out, holding up a jar with a brightly colored beetle. I haven't seen anything like it in our database. Sarana, any idea? Sarana peered into the jar, her eyes lighting up. We had similar species on Arona. They feed on minerals in the rocks. Harmless but fascinating. As the sun began to dip towards the horizon, Jack checked their position on his device. We should head back. It'll be dark soon, and this terrain isn't friendly at night. Eli nodded in agreement, packing up his gear. Let's not keep the campfire waiting. On the trek back, their conversation turned to the stars. Sarana pointed out constellations from her world, which were visible in the night sky alongside those familiar to Earth. That one, Sarana pointed to a bright cluster, is called the Navigator. It helped our ancestors travel between stars. Jack matched her point with one of his own. We call that one Orion. It's been a guide for Earth sailors for centuries. Eli, looking between the two, smiled broadly. Seems like the stars have been bringing folks together long before we met. Huh? Indeed, Sarana agreed, her voice soft with wonder. They reached the camp as the last light faded, tired but exhilarated from the day's discoveries. Over a dinner of rehydrated meals, they shared laughs and planned the next day's adventure. As they settled down for the night, the sense of camaraderie and shared purpose was palpable. Under the shared light of distant stars, they had found common ground, a tiny speck in a universe where Earth and Arona momentarily intertwined. As the team ventured deeper into uncharted territories of the planet the following day, dark clouds began to gather overhead, casting an ominous shadow across the landscape. Jack glanced up at the sky, concern etching his features. Looks like we're in for some weather, he noted, adjusting the straps on his backpack. These clouds came out of nowhere. Eli, who was examining a small, scuttling creature under a bush, looked up and frowned. This planet's weather patterns are erratic. We should find shelter. Sarana, holding her sensor device, nodded in agreement. My readings indicate a significant storm approaching. There is a cave system not far from here. It should provide adequate shelter. Lead the way, Sarana, Jack said, gesturing for her to take the lead. As they hurried towards the caves, the wind began to pick up, howling through the trees with increasing ferocity. Reaching the cave just as the first heavy raindrops began to fall, Eli helped Sarana inside while Jack pulled waterproof covers over their packs. Inside, the cave was dry and surprisingly warm, shielded from the elements. We got here just in time, Jack said, unpacking a portable light source which cast a warm glow around the small chamber. Eli, who was setting up a small sensor to monitor the storm outside, agreed. This should pass by tomorrow. We'll be okay here for the night. As the storm raged outside, its sounds echoing through the cave, Sarana sat close to the entrance, her knees drawn up to her chest. Jack noticed her tension and sat beside her. First big storm since you crashed? He asked gently. Sarana nodded. It's all a lot. We don't have storms like this on Arona. Everything here is so different, so raw. It can be overwhelming, Jack agreed, watching the shadows play across the cave walls. But you're handling everything incredibly well. Eli joined them, offering Sarana a steaming cup of tea he had managed to prepare. Here, this might help. It's calming. Accepting the cup, Sarana smiled weakly. Thank you, Eli. I am grateful for both of you. You have made this strange world less daunting. We're glad to have you here with us, Eli responded, settling down next to them. It's not every day we get to meet someone from another star system. The conversation shifted as they began to share stories from their respective worlds to pass the time. Jack recounted tales of Earth's vast oceans and towering mountains, while Eli described the cities, bustling with life and color. Sarana, in turn, shared more about Arona's culture, its art, music, and people. We have a festival of lights where everyone gathers to share food, music, and dance. It's beautiful. That sounds amazing, Jack said, clearly enthralled. We have something similar on Earth called Diwali. As the night deepened and the storm showed no signs of abating, they continued to talk, finding more similarities than differences in their cultures. The warmth of their conversation contrasted sharply with the cold fury of the storm outside. Finally, as exhaustion set in, they prepared to sleep, arranging their sleeping bags in a tight circle. Eli, before dozing off, looked around at his companions. Today was a good day, despite the storm, he murmured sleepily. It was, Sarana agreed, her voice soft. Thank you for sharing your stories and your world with me. Jack, feeling a profound sense of connection, nodded. Anytime, Sarana. We're all in this together, after all. With the storm still whispering its wild tales outside, they fell asleep, a makeshift family bound by circumstance, curiosity, and a newfound friendship, safe in the heart of an alien world. As the first rays of morning light filtered into the cave, the storm had passed, leaving a fresh, crisp air in its wake. The trio packed up their makeshift camp inside the cave and stepped outside to a world washed clean by the night's downpour. The ground was damp underfoot, and the air carried the fresh scent of wet earth and foliage. Eli stretched his arms above his head, taking a deep breath. Nothing like the smell of a fresh start, huh? Jack chuckled, securing the last of the gear onto his back. Definitely. Let's check the area for any storm damage before we head back to camp. As they surveyed the surroundings, Sarana walked a little apart from the group, visibly lost in thought. Jack noticed her distant demeanor and decided to approach her. Everything okay, Sarana? He asked gently, walking up beside her. Sarana looked up, a trace of hesitance in her expression. I have been thinking about a lot since last night, about home, about being here with you and Eli. Jack nodded, understandingly. It's a lot to take in. But you can talk to us, right? Whatever it is. Sarana took a deep breath and then met his gaze squarely. I feel a strong connection to you, Jack. To both of you. These past days, having you both by my side, it has made me feel. She paused, searching for the right words, as if I had found something I didn't know I was searching for. Jack's expression softened, touched by her words. We feel the same, Sarana. You become a part of our team, more than that, a friend. It's more than friendship for me, Jack, Sarana confessed, her voice low. I have feelings for you. Feelings that go beyond friendship. She hesitated. I care for you deeply. Jack was taken aback for a moment, processing her words. He took a step closer, his voice gentle. Sarana, Eli's voice calling them back interrupted the moment. Hey, you two. Looks like the path is clear. We're good to go. They both looked towards Eli, who was waving them over, then back at each other. Let's talk about this more later, okay? Jack suggested, his tone earnest. Sarana nodded, a faint smile appearing on her lips as she replied. Yes, I would like that. The walk back to camp was quiet, each lost in their thoughts, but the air between Jack and Sarana was charged with a new awareness. Upon returning, they went about their daily tasks, but the morning's confession lingered in the background. Later that evening, as they sat around a campfire, Jack found a moment to revisit their conversation. Eli, sensing the need for privacy, excused himself early, leaving them alone under the starlit sky. Jack turned to Sarana, taking a deep breath. About what you said this morning. Sarana met his gaze, her nerves apparent. Yes, I've been thinking about it all day, Jack admitted. The truth is, I feel a connection too. Stronger than I expected. I wasn't sure if it was right to feel this way, considering everything. Sarana's face lit up with a mixture of relief and happiness. I was so afraid you'd push me away. Jack shook his head. I could never do that. You brought something to my life I didn't know was missing. I care about you too, Sarana, more than just as a friend. Reaching out, he took her hand, his touch gentle. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know I want to explore these feelings with you. Sarana squeezed his hand back, her voice soft but firm. So do I, Jack. As they sat by the fire, their hands entwined, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, their connection a tangible warmth in the cool night air. They talked into the night, making plans, sharing dreams, and slowly, carefully, stepping into a new chapter of their lives together. The following morning, the air around the camp was charged with a subtle but unmistakable shift. Jack and Sarana had spent the night by the fire, talking and planning, and now the reality of their confessed feelings was setting in. As they prepared breakfast together, the usual tasks seemed lighter, touched by quiet smiles and shared glances. Eli, ever observant, noticed the change but chose to keep the atmosphere light. So, what's on the agenda today, lovebirds? More exploring. Or are we taking it easy? Jack laughed, handing Sarana a plate of food. I think a day around a camp might be good. We've got some data to analyze, and maybe take a closer look at some of the samples we've collected. Sarana nodded, her cheeks coloring slightly. I would like that. It would be good to spend some time here together. As the day progressed, Jack and Sarana set up a workstation outside, under the shade of a large, leafy tree. They spread out maps and samples, and Sarana brought out her modified sensor, eager to show Jack the enhancements she had made based on their previous explorations. See here, Sarana pointed to the display. I adjusted the sensor to calibrate with the mineral density we found. It should give us much more accurate readings now. Jack, impressed, watched as the sensor lit up, displaying a colorful graph. That's incredible, Sarana. You really have a knack for this. Their work was meticulous and focused, but the undercurrent of their new relationship added a layer of excitement to the task. Occasionally, their hands would touch, sending a spark through them both, or they would share a look that said more than words could. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the camp, Eli approached them with a couple of drinks. You two have been at it all day. Time for a break, I'd say. Taking the offered drinks, Jack and Sarana thanked him, their appreciation evident. Eli winked and left them to enjoy their moment, heading off to do some light maintenance around the camp. Sarana sipped her drink, then set it down, turning to Jack with a serious expression. Jack, I've been thinking about all of this, she gestured around, and what happens next. Jack took her hand, his voice steady. I've been thinking about that, too. We come from different worlds, literally, but I've never felt this connected to anyone. Sarana smiled, squeezing his hand. Neither have I. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to find out with you. They decided to spend the evening away from the camp, just the two of them. Walking to a nearby clearing, they watched the stars appear as dusk faded to night. The air was cool, and the sky was clear, the stars brilliant and sharp above them. As they sat down on the soft grass, Jack turned to Sarana. I don't know exactly how we make all of this work, but I know that I want to try. Whatever challenges we face, I think they're worth it. Sarana leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. I agree. Let's take it one day at a time. They talked about everything and nothing, from the specifics of their respective cultures to the dreams they dared to dream. And as the night deepened, they shared their first kiss under the alien stars, a gentle, affirming connection that sealed their newfound commitment to each other. The night grew deep and the air cool, but the warmth between them was enough. Wrapped in a shared blanket, they watched the sky, their silence comfortable, their closeness a testament to the bridge they had built between two vastly different lives. As they eventually fell asleep, the world around them seemed to stand still, holding its breath for the new bond that was forming under its watchful stars. The next morning brought a sense of calm and new possibilities as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon. Jack and Sarana returned to camp hand in hand, their steps light and faces serene. They found Eli already up, busily organizing equipment for the day. Morning, you two. Eli greeted them with a knowing smile. Sleep well? Very well, thanks, Jack replied, returning the smile with equal warmth. Eli chuckled as he handed them cups of freshly made coffee. So, what's the plan today? I've been thinking about doing a full system check on the equipment. Could use a hand. Jack nodded. Sounds good. I'll help with that. Sarana, do you want to continue with the sensor enhancements? Sarana, looking refreshed and eager, agreed. Yes, I'd like that. There's a lot more I can do with the integration of our technologies. As they set about their tasks, the camp was filled with a comfortable buzz of activity. Jack and Eli worked on the technical maintenance, occasionally asking for Sarana's input when it came to alien tech compatibility. Mid-morning, their communicators beeped simultaneously, an incoming message from Earth Command. Jack checked the display, his brow furrowing slightly. It's a check-in call. They're going to want updates. Gathering around the main console, they accepted the call. A face appeared on the screen, Commander Helen Pierce, overseeing their mission from back home. Report, Jack. How are things on the ground? Her voice was crisp, expectant. Jack exchanged a glance with Sarana, then spoke. We've made significant progress on the geological front, and we've also had an unexpected encounter with an alien survivor from a crash scout ship. We've been assisting her. The commander raised an eyebrow. Is this encounter a threat to your mission? Not at all, Jack assured quickly. She's been cooperative and helpful. We've learned a lot from each other. There's potential for significant scientific exchange. Commander Pierce considered this, then nodded. Very well. Keep me updated. We may need to revise your objectives based on this new development. Will do, Commander, Jack responded as the call ended. Turning to Eli and Sarana, he sighed, a bit of tension leaving his shoulders. Well, that went better than I expected. Eli clapped him on the back. You handled it well. Looks like we've got the green light to continue. Sarana, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. I'm grateful to be here with you both. Your world has shown me kindness I didn't know still existed. Jack took her hand, his voice firm with decision. Sarana, I've been thinking. When the mission ends, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here with you, continue our work together. Eli looked from Jack to Sarana, a grin spreading across his face. Guess I should start getting used to being the third wheel, huh? Sarana's eyes lit up, her emotion clear. Jack, are you sure? Absolutely, Jack confirmed. This feels right. Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The rest of the day passed with a new spirit of camaraderie and purpose. They worked together, setting long-term goals for their joint scientific endeavors and discussing the logistics of combining their efforts on a more permanent basis. As the sun set, coloring the sky in shades of orange and purple, they gathered around the campfire once more. Eli pulled out a small handheld device, playing music from Earth, a soft melody that filled the evening air. This calls for a celebration, Eli announced, raising his cup. To new beginnings, and to a future that's looking pretty darn exciting. Jack and Sarana joined in, their cups clinking together. To new beginnings, they echoed. Under the stars of a foreign sky, on a planet far from home, Jack, Sarana, and Eli looked to the future, their hearts full of hope and anticipation for the adventures to come. As they watched the night sky, they knew that together they could face whatever challenges might arise, united by friendship and a shared vision.